So today, Caitlin Clark, for lack of a better way of describing it, is facing maybe her number one rival so far in her career. The Taurasi one was media fabricated, but there has been no player as vocally anti Caitlin Clark as since she's coming to the W, that is, as Dejanay Carrington. Dejanay Carrington is also, we cannot forget, Dejanay Carrington is the girlfriend of her teammate Nalissa Smith. And if we want to look at what the worst game of Caitlin Clark's career was, I don't necessarily think that it was. I think the Sun are such a good defensive team. They put her in hell that time. They just destroyed them as a team. I thought Caitlin Clark in the game that in the first half she was their best player, and then she got benched for the whole second half. I don't think that she was that bad. The 3-point game against the Liberty just had her in hell. Having a bad game early in your career against a great defensive team isn't the worst thing in the world. It's not the end of the world. But the Atlanta Dream game, where she had 7 points against them, was the worst game Caitlin Clark has played this year. And do you want to know what was the catalyst for her worst game? Dejanay Carrington going on social media, demanding Caitlin Clark denounce all the people that are using her name, and demanding that Caitlin Clark denounce everybody and speak up. And she very much you can tell she felt uncomfortable having to answer that question. Because at the end of the day, we all kind of would. Especially if we're not on social media and we're looking at all this stuff, we would feel uncomfortable. It's people are just she's a 22-year-old girl. Every single person in her shoes would be very uncomfortable with some of the stuff that's happening around her name online. Especially the people that aren't basketball fans. A lot of that is stopping, to be fair. It's now just random Twitter trolls. But it's it's not Caitlin Clark's job to stop it. They are random Twitter trolls. They are random people. She is a 22-year-old girl who just wants to play basketball. No one would feel comfortable having to just even mention it. And I think, I always said it, Caitlin Clark even mentioning that means that for her, she has to admit that it's real. And she's done nothing to cause it. So, yeah, she was obviously awkward. But if we look at Dejanay Carrington, 16 points against Indiana, 14 against Indiana, and 22 against Indiana. She has averaged 18 points per game against Indiana, while also playing lockdown defense like Caitlin Clark. If we want to look at Caitlin Clark against Connecticut, 20 points on 5 of 15 shooting. By the way, almost all of this is when Dejanay Carrington rolled her ankle to end the game. Then 17 points on 11 shots, decent enough game for Clark. And then a 10-point game on 3 of 8 shooting, 2 of 5 and 3. Not the worst percentages, but they were down 30 and she got benched for the whole second half. So, Dejanay Carrington has had Caitlin Clark in hell. Clark has had to, and I mean this, she has had to step up. She has to step up today. Because this is the one matchup she hasn't won. If you want to look at every single team in the WNBA, the Atlanta Dream, they are 3-0 against them. The Dallas Wings, yes, the Dallas Wings beat them. But that was Caitlin and Aaliyah Boston versus the Worlds. The Dallas Wings had Odyssey Sims, who was playing like an all-star. They had, Caitlin Clark had 24 and 19 assists in that game. Chicago Sky, she's 2-1 against and had one okay game and 2 really good games. The Aces, she hasn't got the better yet of the Aces. 0-2. The Aces are a good team. She has really struggled against the Sun. To be fair, I think she had 11 assists one time against the Aces, which isn't a bad game. The Sparks, she had 30 against. The Lynx, she had 10 in the fourth quarter to beat. The triple-double against the Liberty. Destroyed the Mercury for the entire season. She had 29 and 13 against the Mystics. And the Seattle Storm, they beat a few games ago. So, every team, even the teams that had her in jail, like the Liberty, for three games in a row, Caitlin Clark got one back. The Storm had her in jail for 3 games. She got one back. I think she's going to get one back on the Ace, especially when they're in free fall. But, now we are, looking at the one team she really hasn't gotten her lick back against. And yeah. It's a big one. So to win this game, she's gonna have to attack hard. Caitlin Clark has got to attack Dejanay Carrington. Dejanay Carrington is foul prone. Dejanay Carrington, if you can get the better of Carrington, Carrington will start fouling. Like, she is a physical, quick defender. Caitlin Clark is not going to be able to burn her like she burned Sophie Cunningham. She's not going to be able to burn her like she burned, what's her name, Skylar Diggins-Smith. Also, you're looking at situations where, in the pick and roll, it's got to be Aaliyah Boston setting that screen because of how well Alyssa Thomas can blitz that pick and roll, especially because of the way they allow the Sun to play the referees. We saw it the last time, or in the, I think, was it the game where it was the 2-point game where they just about lost? We saw Alyssa Thomas basically rugby tackle Caitlin Clark and on a blitz and get a steal. We saw, again, a BS call at the end of that game going towards, like, they were robbed of that second game. But this team is allowed to play physical. They're refed physically. So she's going to be hit with what she got at the start of the year. And I would be looking, if I were if I was Christy Sides, I would be having her go downhill. I would be having Leah Boston setting constant drag screens. I would say it. I would have her setting constant drag screens. I would try get the basically run the offense like you did against the Phoenix Mercury a few times ago, where you're constantly getting Brittany Griner putting pick and rolls, because Bree Jones is more mobile than Brittany Griner, but you got to try at times to create some separation from Clark and Carrington. Clark is not going to ISO Dejanay Carrington today. Caitlin will not be able to ISO Carrington, so the team's got to push. Like, yes, for me, I would almost run the guard-to-guard screen rolls. She ran quite a lot of them at times in games. She starts off a lot of games running them, Christy Sides, then goes away from it. But the guard-to-guard pick and rolls to get Caitlin switched on to Marina Mabry, I think, opens up everything, because Mabry's not going to be able to guard the pick and roll with the guard big. So I would try do everything in your power to get Dejanay Carrington switched off. But running Caitlin off and Caitlin go running circles off 17 pin downs is not going to get her open. Caitlin go ISO is not going to get her open. I would also go back to the double horn screen, where you set the stagger screen, which forces the switch off the second screen, and Caitlin Clark can make good reads off that. There were a couple of plays Christy Sides brought in earlier in the year that I think could be really effective in this game, but I don't see Christy Sides run them. I think this is going to be a Caitlin go stand in the corner game. So my predictions for the game is Caitlin Clark 14 points, 9 assists. I'll go 14 points, 9 assists. This team at times need bricklayers, so I'll go 8 rebounds, 7 turnovers. That's my prediction. I don't think she breaks 20 today. I don't even think she breaks 15.